Just to start, I believe you've just got back from a tribute show for George Harrison.
Yeah, I was in Liverpool last night, which is about a 4-hour drive from where I live and where my office is up the road here, and we had a wonderful time. Paul McCartney showed up at the last minute.
Oh, excellent.
It was great. Paul came on and did an a cappella version of Yesterday at the very end, and my band played a 20-minute set, and there were a lot of George-type tribute. There was a couple of people played some wonderful George Harrison songs. It was a very good concert. 3,000 people, sold out in about 9 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was a gas to be at. You know, I felt really quite privileged to be asked, to be honest.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, just going to cover a little bit of history first before we talk about what you're up to these days. A journalistic background at first, I believe.
Yeah, I left school just before finishing my A-levels. I don't know what you call all that, you know, when you're 18.
Yep.
I was 17, and I left at the end of the lower sixth form. I always knew since I was 12, they used to say to us at school, what do you think you'll be? And I'd say, I'll be a journalist. And they'd say, well, what's your second choice? Because that's a tough one. And I'd say, no, there's no second choice. That's it. And I was really it was that important to me. You know, I spent a long time in hospital as a kid, but at 2.5 I caught polio. And so, you know, I limp in my right leg slightly. It's just something I've learned to live with. It's no big thing. And I spent 4 years in hospital on and off between 2.5 and the age of 16. And I had plenty of time to read. I was always an avid reader. I was reading Steinbeck and Hemingway and D.H. Lawrence poetry and such things, and Ezra Pound, T.S. Eliot. I was reading all that when I was 13 and 14 outside the school curriculum, you know, because I was spending so much time reading and then writing, and I was always going to be a newspaper reporter. I had that kind of wearing the Trilby hat with press tickets in the band, completely mad. But you know, I did do it. I left school and I was indentured, which is like an apprenticeship, of course, and did me 3 years, and another year I finished up on a paper in East London, which is it was real Fleet Street stuff.
You think in later years your journalist background had any influence at all on your songwriting?
Well, no. I'll tell you what it has done. It's made me a god-awful damn pedant. It's just dreadful. I mean, I sub-edit every newspaper article I read. I was just, listen to this, you caught me on a day, I was with my driver, my assistant drives me and one of the musicians in my band, and we were driving down, as I say, it's a 4-hour drive from Liverpool, and this morning after breakfast, and I was reading my Daily Telegraph. It's a broadsheet daily English paper, which I'm sure you know, but whether your listeners know or not, I don't know. But it's a major newspaper, and on page 5 was a good story about last night's concert for George Harrison, at which McCartney showed up, and that made it news, you know. And I got a plug in there. It mentioned me, and I found about 5 inaccuracies in this story. It's so boring. I'm reading it to the other two and going, well, that's not true, and that's not true, and oh well. So it makes me a hard judge.
Just can't help yourself.
But how much it helps, I don't think it comes very often into songwriting, John, except to say one thing. As a reporter, we tended always, like they are now, I guess, I don't know so much, but to be basically bone idle and really waiting for the pubs to open. And you work to deadlines, of course, for newspaper journalism. So I would always, like they all did and we all did and they do now, I guess, write a story at the last minute. If someone gives you 5 hours, you'll do it after 4 hours and 30 minutes. If they give you 5 days, you'll do it after 4 days and 21 hours. And so I'm like that with songwriting, and always have been. I book a studio And then as the days dawn nearer and nearer, you know, God, we're paying a fortune for this studio, you know, £1,000 a day or something, you know, 2,500 Aussie dollars a day. And you think, I'd better write something. I mean, I take my writing very, very seriously, which is why I don't release many albums, because I don't like writing and releasing crap. I don't want to churn out all the dross that comes out of my system goes in the bin. So I'm kind of half joking with you. I do take it more seriously than it sounds.
Sure. What about your first recording deal? Did that come rather quickly to you?
Yeah, it did, didn't it? Yeah, I was very lucky. I was on the dole. Yeah, you know. Mm-hmm. What's that for you? Benefits?
No, the dole.
On the dole, in the doldrums, and. I gave up journalism and went on the dole because I'd had a guitar since I was 12 years old, and I really thought that was my future, the writing of songs and singing, you know. And I put together the first Cockney Rebel, and that was mostly taken from ads that I put in the Melody Maker, looking for musicians and meeting guys, you know, and we only ever did about 6 club gigs in London, and we ended up with queues around the block. We became very much the trend of the moment, you know. We were the in name in London for a long time, Cockney Rebel. And there was something rather original about us, I think. I mean, it's easy to dismiss it as part of glam rock, which it never was. I mean, the first album was rather theatrical, but not glam rock in any way other than that. You know, I wouldn't recognise a stack-heeled pair of shoes if it got into bed with me. It was never... And we made up a little bit, but there was very much its time, you know. But we were kind of like that. We were kind of art school theatrical in our stage presentation, and I got from only 5 or 6 gigs in London clubs, a very important publishing deal, and then a major recording deal with EMI for 3 albums and 73. Now, these days, an album deal is literally packed with options, as you well know.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, in those days, they meant 3 albums. It was not options, they were committed, and we made them, and we had a chance to progress, unlike today's poor buggers. We had a chance to go through 3 albums to, you know, the Human Menagerie, and then the Psychomodo, and then, of course, you know, the best years of our lives was the 3rd one, as I recall, and you can hear the not transformation, but the progress, the maturing of this budding performer, you know, and I was given that chance. Yeah, it did come. It came early. It came quick, and I can't pretend I'd paid my dues very much.
You remember having a good feeling about the first album? Did you feel confident that you had a good material in store, ready for use there?
I was 22, and I'd seen a lot of life as a reporter. I'd seen a lot of death, a lot of terrible things, a lot of court cases, a lot of life. And I feel in retrospect, looking back, I'm 50 now, and looking back at that 22-year-old, I feel like he was a boy who really, while I was streetwise, I was a South London boy, I was streetwise, I'd had 4 years as a reporter, but I still feel as though I was an ignorant young lad, and I can't answer your question except to say that I remember I was busking in the subways in the London Underground system, you know, the Metro.
Yep.
And I was busking between giving up journalism and getting a record deal with the first Cockney Rebel, and I used to sing Sebastian, for instance, which is merely only 3 or 4 chords, but it's a big story, and to be at Air Studios in London at 22 and see a 40-piece choir and a 60-piece orchestra arrive and play your little song, I tell you, it was a moment that I will treasure forever. You never forget moments like that. Yeah. I knew that the Human Menagerie album was a memorable album. I knew that we would make a dent if there was any justice, and I'm never sure anymore. I'm not sure anymore if there is, but in those days I was young enough to believe there was some justice in the world. And we believed it was a special record. Sebastian and Death Trip, and some of those songs I still play today. Of course, Sebastian is alive. It's a bit as big as Make Me Smile in most parts of the world. So whether I thought it was going to be a success or not, I can't say. I've always been rather sort of the poor the poor artist looking at the blank sheet of paper and the blank canvas, you know, and I never really carried the immense self-confidence that early interviews pretended I did. I was slightly more or less secure, more insecure is what I should say, than I came across in public. I had more humility than it appeared that I had, that's for sure.
Now, I'm sure this is something you've had to explain many times over the years, but what happened to the first version of Cockney Rebel?
The drummer, Stuart Elliott, is my friend and played with me last night in Liverpool for the first time in 12 years. My regular drummer is away and couldn't do this charity performance, and Stuart came in. And he's my friend and a wonderful drummer, top session drummer. Yeah. You know, he's part of the Alan Parsons project and all that. Lovely, very funny man and a super good person and one of the great drummers, to be honest. He and I were the original Cockney Rebel. He and I came up with all those drum patterns, the original rhythms, like Judy Teen is completely stupid, and that was me and him. The others were good guys too. The bass player died over Lockerbie, you must know that.
Yes, yeah, I did read.
He was in the Lockerbie Pan Am 103. He was on his way to New York on his honeymoon. So he died there. And the other two, I think the keyboard player is in theatre, and the violinist John Crocker, the fiddle player, who I liked an awful lot, very, very nice man. He was too nice for rock and roll, too good a regular guy, and he went back to his first love, which was always computers and such matters. And he works in the computer world somewhere in North London. But he was never meant for the music business.
And that outfit only lasted a short time. What were the circumstances there?
Well, the story I've read ever since it happened, which suited me fine, was that the front page of the Melody Maker and the New Musical Express, you know, the big new music papers of the day, had the front page splashes like Harley Sax Band. It wasn't quite like that. What actually happened was at the end of a 44-day tour, which I do regularly now. I do 40-day tours twice a year. I just play all the time now. But we're under control, and I have it all under control. You know, in those days we were very young, 22, 21, 20, yeah. And we were bloody mad. And you stay up all night, you throw things out of windows, you get drunk. It was the hedonistic 70s rock life, and you know, we were successful, and we were just young boys on our first album. You know, Sebastian was a number one for 10 weeks and 12 weeks in all kinds of countries all over Europe. And then Judy Teen was a big hit. That was my first hit single in the UK. And what happened was it kind of went to our heads. And at the end of the tour, we were all very, very tired and emotional and buggered. And they came to me saying, well, we want this and we want that. And it was the publishing. They wanted to write songs for the band. And I said, well, no, I'm not ready for that. This is my baby, my vehicle. And I brought you in and telling you what it was all about. You know, I'm not moving the goalpost. Now you want to move the goalpost. Well, I'm sorry, I'm not having it. And there was a revolution with a small R, certainly a mutiny in the ranks. And the three of them said, well, we can write songs too. And I said, well, go and do it. And good luck. And Stuart stayed with me, the drummer, Stuart Elliott, stayed with me. Smart cookie. He stayed with me into the second Cockney Rebel, the really big one. And the other three went off into obscurity. What can I tell you?
Yeah.
I said, if you can do it, go do it. So basically, how would you describe those events? You would say, those guys offered Steve their resignation.
Yeah,
can you put
much.
it any other way?
No, that pretty well covers it.
I didn't sack them.
No.
I didn't even ask for the confrontation. They didn't know that they didn't know how well off they were. Let's put it that way. That's what I think. And they walked out on me. Good luck to them. There is a God. There is such a thing called karma. And if they were meant to be, they were going to do it. And as I say, one's in a straight job, one's in theatre that you've never heard of him since, and poor Paul died. But there you are. I wouldn't wish that upon anyone, of course.
Did you feel you were on a hit with Make Me Smile before it was even released? Could you see its hit potential already there?
God, yeah, Make Me Smile. Was that a hit in your country?
Oh, sure was.
Was it?
Oh, yeah.
No kidding. Yeah. Still live off it.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, I could do. Well, I couldn't. Many people could. We couldn't. Yeah. A lot of people could.
Yeah.
Most people could. Most people could. It's much bigger now than it was in '75. To be honest, it's on TV ads all around Europe. Yeah. The movies, it's everywhere. Bless its cotton socks. I mean, what happened was I wrote it with all those tassets, the dead stops, you know.
Yep.
And I went in the studio and played it. Alan Parsons was my co-producer. And I played it to him and the group, and Alan said, well, what do you want those stops in there for? And I said, well, it's called an effect, Alan. Alan's a scientist, you know. He's a great mixing engineer, but basically a scientist. Yeah. I'm an artist. We're totally in the same world, but different planets. So I said, Alan, it's called style. Something you wouldn't understand. We had a laugh, you know. We laughed. It was all a joke. And I said, they're in anyway. The stops are part of that damn song, and that's it. And we recorded it one day, overdubbing. We were at Abbey Road for a couple of months doing the album, and one day I was alone with Jim Cregan. We'd done the guitar solo. It took a long time. It was done on several tracks, and we mixed it by cross-fading several different takes. Snatches of a bar here and 6 bars there, 20 bars there and 6 bars there, you know, snatches of different takes. There's a technical run in that solo, which is it's very difficult to play. And he wouldn't have really thought that up. It came from the faders being crossed, but that doesn't matter. And 10 o'clock in the evening, the then managing director of EMI came down to Abbey Road to see us after dinner and say hello, and we had a bottle of wine out, and we said, look, do you want to hear some of this? And we played him mad things like It Wasn't Me, which is very, very bizarre. After 3 bottles of wine and late at night for this guy, it must have sobered him up a bit. We played him Back to the Farm, which is a long 7/4 time piece, which again is about going crazy. A lot of my songs then were rather bent on the how do I survive this life kind of question, and Back to the Farm is a piece of mental institution illusion. And then he was going, Christ, what are you doing? This isn't Judy Teen. This is fucking mad. What are you doing? This is crazy stuff. I love it, but it's way out there. And I'm saying, yeah, I know. It's just, I'm enjoying myself, you know. It's our 3rd album, and that's how I'm going. Is it all right? And it's what I want to do. And we said, look, here, this one. This one's a bit easier on the ear. This one's a little bit easier on the late night brain. Boom, 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 boom. Whoa, that perked him up. Yeah. And it finished, and he's the managing director, Bob Mercer. And it finished, and I said, what do you think? And he said, number 1. And I said, can I hold you to that, you drunken old sod? You know, is that a deal? You know, this is EMI. They could move mountains. Yeah. If they said that's number 1, they choose the time it's released so it doesn't clash with any of their own artists that are big sellers. They can put the right marketing push behind it. They can order the salesman to sell it. They know exactly how to do this. If you're Flavour of the Month, they can do it. Yeah. I'm not Flavour of the Month now, but I sure knew quickly then what they could do. I said, can I hold you to that? And he said, yeah. And 3 weeks after release, it was number 1 in Britain, and then number 1 in many countries in the world. But yeah, we knew. We knew there was magic in the air. We knew that no one had made a record like it before. We knew that... What I didn't know, John, was that it would sound so wonderful on the radio 25 years later. And that's not the old Steve Harley bragging. That's me saying, Alan Parsons, God bless you. That's saying Parsons was an engineer from the highest echelons, the top drawer. And that mix of that record, I hear it on the radio. It's played in this country. It's played all over the world. Everywhere I go, I hear the thing. I hear it in shops in Milan, you know. I hear it in Rome and Oslo. Walking down the street, it comes out of car radios. I hear it everywhere. Alan Parsons can take the credit for that.
It hasn't aged, has it?
So modern.
Yeah, it hasn't aged at all, has it?
Huh?
It hasn't aged at all, has it? Hasn't aged.
Thank you. You're sort of nodding and agreeing with me. I didn't mean to put words in your mouth, but I don't think it's aged very much.
No.
I kind of sound slightly different now when I sing it. I'm a bigger singer. I'm a much more mature, singer. But other than that, no, it hasn't aged. No, it's matured quite nicely, I'd say, and it's still played a lot. As I say, I could almost live off it. I didn't know how much of a hit it was in Aussie, and I want to ask you and all your listeners to find out for me why the hell it is after 28 years as a professional, I've been in most parts of the world, that no one's ever invited me to come and play in Australia. Do you know why?
I don't know why. It's a crime, isn't it?
It's a crime.
It still gets played here too. I heard it just the other day.
Oh, well, there's nine original albums, you know. It ain't just Make Me Smile. We play a 2.5-hour show on tour.
How have you got along with record companies over the years?
Oh, all right. My problem is that I've been around a long time, and I've lived a life, and I don't trust. I don't know. I find it difficult to kowtow to people who probably know less about the industry than I do. It's very difficult. I get on all right, hey, what can you do? I mean, I don't know what to say to that, really, except I'm talking to two very important people at this moment, two very important major independent record companies in Britain. And I've cut 3 tracks for a brand new album. Poetic Justice in '97 was my favourite album of my entire career. It reflected my age and my experience and all that stuff. It wasn't crazy like Psychomoto, so it didn't please all the old fans, because artists mature, but fans never do. Fans kind of, they stay, do I want Dylan to make another Highway 61? Of course I do. But he's 95 years old. Well, he sounds like he's 95 years old, and his head is 95. Dylan's like 30 years older than he is. He's matured with this, God touched him and just aged him so that he saw things ahead of the rest of us. I'm sorry, but he did it with Chopin, he did it with Mozart, he did it with Vincent van Gogh and a few other, Michelangelo and Bernini. These people to me are the true geniuses of history. And Dylan's one of them, I'm afraid to say. Some of your listeners are laughing their heads off and thinking, what pretentious crap. But Dylan is from a very special place that most of us are never going to get anywhere near visiting.
Well, you won't get any argument from me.
He's aged prematurely. His voice, his head, his attitude. Yeah. I mean, I'm happy to be alive and feeling so young, but I still want to know why I never come to Australia and play concerts.
We'll have to work on that. Has that been
80 or 100 shows a year. Why have I never been down under?
Has that been a source of annoyance for you, that perhaps people, the public in general, have not been as willing to accept your more recent work and more intent to concentrate on what you've done in the past?
No. As I said, I've had to accept that artists of all kinds, I mean, I might be an artist with a small a. I wouldn't for 1 second come over all precious with you. But artists have to keep moving forwards. When I play a 2.5-hour live show with a 6-piece rock band up my backside, they don't come to hear 1 hour of 70s hits. they come to hear Steve, and Steve's going to play from 11 or 10 or 11 albums. I play brand new songs that have never been recorded. I play songs from albums that only one in every 25 people in that room have ever bought. Last night I played that 20 minutes for George Harrison tribute, and we went on. I promised I would do with the band Here Comes the Sun for George, because I had that huge hit with it.
Yeah.
And Make Me Smile, which, you know, made 3,000 people stand up and sing. But before that, I had another 12 minutes, 10 minutes, and I went on and sang A Friend for Life, which is a single that came out 9 months ago, and is one of the best songs I'll ever write in my life. And then I sang an Elvis song from 1958 with just a violin and an acoustic guitar. I didn't do just, nostalgia. It's not possible. I turned down telephone numbers to play nostalgia-type 70s concerts. I'm not interested. I earn a lot of money without that. And I don't want to be famous in the supermarket, if you take my point.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm all a writer. Everything about me is a writer, and I won't abuse my gift, what little gift it is compared to great writers. I'm not one of those, maybe. But what gift I have, I don't want to abuse, and I have a very, very lovely lifestyle. So do I have to say, am I hurt by a lack of sales? Well, I've got to keep moving. I'm not going to rewrite and re-record Psychomoto just because fans from around the world bang it out on the internet saying, yeah, Poetic Justice is quite nice, but where's Psychomoto? And you go, hey, man, I'll tell you what it is. It's in 1974, and I'm 50 years old. I've changed. Why don't you? Yeah. And if they can't take it, it's okay. Just keep playing Psychomoto and buy a concert ticket, and I'll play some of the songs from it. You have to you can't please all the people all the time. I'm sorry to use such a silly platitude, but it doesn't get any more complicated than that, really.
Yeah, no, well put. Is the procedure you go through for songwriting these days pretty much the same now as in the past?
Oh, yeah. I used to write with such an arrogant confidence that I can't say it is. Now it's very much a labour of love, but nonetheless bloody hard work. As you get older and more comfortable, my kids are 19 and my son is 19 at university. My daughter's nearly 16 and a half, doing exams now. We have a wonderful life. Hey, I'm not as rich as Sting. But I've got a great life, you know? And it's very hard to write about being thoroughly happy, apart from the fact that, you know, I'm miserable because I've never played in Japan or Australia, which kind of does play on my mind. I've mentioned it twice as half a joke to you.
Yeah.
But trust me, I have the humility. I am humble enough to tell you on air that talking to you now means the world to me, because there's been so little interest in my career from Australia in 28 years that it's a privilege to talk to you and a real thrill. And I don't know how many listeners are going to get hold of this, John. I haven't got a clue. But I know where you are. And it does play on my mind that I'm 50 years old, and when the hell am I going to get out there? Look, I can get on a plane. I could buy the bloody aeroplane. I could get on a plane tomorrow and come to Melbourne and come and see you and say, here I am. I got a guitar with me. But, I mean, I'm not some semi-pro kid.
Yeah.
I play with a big rock band and a big show, and I wouldn't mind in the very near future, let's put it that way, getting the chance to show it to some whatever Australian fans I might have, you know. But they write on the internet, they write letters. I've heard it for donkey's years from there and from your place and Japan. Why doesn't he ever come here? Why don't you come here? I see you're going to Germany again, and Belgium and Holland and Scandinavia and England. Why don't you ever come here? Well, it ain't my fault, guys. It's nothing to do with me.
Invitation would be nice.
I need to be invited by promoters, and it don't come free.
Yeah.
There is a money question. I can't come and do what I do and come home with nothing.
Yeah.
They have to realize that. I don't know if my agent says no, you're not offering enough money. I mean, Christ, that's the least of my worries. But it has to be made to work. But I so want to come and play. I can barely tell you.
So touring in general hasn't lost its shine for you at all?
It's more fun. It's not fun. It's not the right word. It's more enjoyable now than ever in my life. I completely love it. But I do it in style, you know. We travel. My driver and I are in a bloody great BMW, and you know, we whiz about. We're in comfort. We stay in the right hotels. I get a lot of sleep, and I don't overdrink the wine in the evenings. I don't go to clubs where there's smoke because I have to sing for 2.5 hours the next day, so I don't inhale a load of passive smoke, you know. I live a kind of I don't know, a quiet life on tour. I live for the spotlight on tour. I live for that moment where we walk out of the wings and go, yeah, come on, let's go do it again. Yeah. It's never the same twice. We've got 4 hours of music rehearsed, and we play 2.5, 2 3/4, whatever they want. 3 hours if we're in Glasgow or Manchester or Liverpool, we play 3 hours. And I've got 4 hours, 4.5 hours rehearsed.
Yeah.
So I change it every single night. The band don't even know what's coming next. It's a very exciting way to live and work. Really exciting. And I know I love it. I love it. I just... You know, last night sitting with a bottle of wine with old Stuart Elliott there and a couple of guys around me, and it was like, this is a good life. This is good. And they're all being paid to play music. And when I work, 17 other people work. It's like a small business on the road, yeah?
Yeah, yeah.
And I just get a thrill thinking, I'm working, that means they're working. They're not waiting for the phone to ring for a couple of months or for 4 weeks or something. I've got them on tour, you know?
Yep.
And I like that because they're good people. I don't travel. I won't employ anyone that's a bit of a nonce or a bad person. I spot them a mile away and we sack them. You know, we travel with good people, top-class musicians, but all good people, nice people. I'm older now, you know, I'm not a kid. I don't want to stay up all night proving anything, you know?
Who are the guys in the band these days? What is the makeup of the band these days? Who are the guys?
Well, in the last 70 or 80, 90 shows, maybe, there's been not many people you would know. You'd know maybe Robbie Gladwell, my guitar player. He's been around a long time. He's been in Australia many times. He's been there with Whisper It, the Susie Quattro band, I think. Oh, yeah. And why not? Why not? I don't know why I'm laughing. I shouldn't do that. It sounded superior, didn't it? He was in Susie's band, and he's always in Aussie with her. He was. He doesn't anymore because he plays with me. But the others you wouldn't know. They are little-known English players, and most of them have never worked at our level until they joined me, that's for sure. I like finding new faces that are real hot players, you know?
Yep.
And enthusiastic, and they have a good life. We live well on the road, yeah. That's why I love it so much. I don't suffer. There's mobile phones. We're in touch with family all the time. I get home whenever I can.
Yeah.
You know, I drive through the night because I've got a driver, and I'm home at 2 or 3 in the morning, and I wake up with my family. That's lovely, you know. That's if we're in the UK. Just lovely.
And just as we wind up, Steve, you said you've got a couple of tracks already down. What's the plans there for a recording?
I've cut 3 tracks. I'm going to sing them all in the next week or so. And then I'm going to go to these 2 rather major players and say, well, you've been waiting, you know, here I am, let's go for lunch, and I'm leaving. I won't listen to it in front of them. They're old friends of mine, you know, I've been around a long time. I'll take them to lunch and then say, here's a CD, I'm off, goodbye. And they can listen to it, and they can call me back 3 days later, what on earth, you know?
Yeah.
And they're good tracks. I'm writing about little Steve now. I'm able to write about growing up and the pain of it. And it's not a primal scream album. It's not suddenly John Lennon asking you to sympathize and empathize. It's not that. But if you're going to, at my age with my happy lifestyle, it's very hard to write songs. You can't say, hey, life's great, got a lovely family, everything you could imagine, want a new car, get a new car. No one wants to hear songs about that. So it's hard to write because I'm not hungry. I can't pretend to be. I'm not angry about much. It's hard to pretend to be. I'm not a phony. I'm not at all phony, so I can't pretend. I have no image. I have a profile, but no image, and it's a quite happy existence, to be honest. But I'm writing about little Steve, and I'm able to write for the first time in my life. There's a song we've sung it live 80 times, and nobody knew it. As soon as you kick into it, they, what the hell's that? And it's an enormous 8 or 9 minutes of a rant about. Every chorus says, "Sweet angels." This is, like nurses. The allegory of nurses, and he says, "Sweet angels, open my eyes. I've been dreaming, I've been paralyzed." And he's alive, but he's dreamt that he's passed on. And the whole song is this great celebration of, I'm here, and I've been doing this and doing that, and I've just come back from Seville and Rome, and it was hot. It was 60 degrees, and that's like walking in hell. And he's so excited, this guy, and I'm writing it in the third person, and I'm singing it in the third person like it's not me. And Robbie plays guitar to die for. He's playing these great ripped blues riffs all around my vocal, recorded live, and it is stunning. It's just bloody stunning. It's one of the most thrilling things I've ever done in my life in a studio, to be honest. It's called The Last Feast, and it sort of plays that way. Wow. The Last Feast. It's a great celebration of life. And there's another one, A Friend for Life, which we've recorded. We're going to send one to you. You can let them hear it if you want.
Oh, fantastic.
It came out 6 months ago and was a small hit here. It almost made the top 50. Very, very close, and it was such a thrill. And I'm very proud of it.
Tremendous.
We'll send it to you.
Well, we hope you get some major label backing there, because fortunately the last one sort of got lost on the way, didn't it? Because it only had an independent label behind it, didn't it?
Yeah, Poetic Justice. It's such a shame when you make what I think is a fine record, and there's no one pushing and marketing it, and therefore 9 out of 10 people that are interested in my career didn't even know it was on sale.
Yeah.
What do you do? And then they call a record shop these days in England. It's like, I'd like you to order that for me. And the guy said, nah, I can't do that. Yes, you can. Nah, go down the road. They'll order it for you. It's shocking. If you're not in the top 50, they don't want to stock it.
Yeah.
It's incredible. The music business is worse than ever. Astonishingly short-sighted. Yeah.
Well, it'd be nice for that one to get a re-release on a major label as well. That would be Poetic Justice.
Oh, bless you. It would be. Well, I'll send you a copy, and A Friend for Life you must have. And
fantastic.
Yeah, I just hope you enjoy them.
Hey, Steve, it's been fantastic catching up with you.
John, it's been a pleasure talking to you.
And I'll send you some promoter information too, some contacts there. Maybe you might be able to stir something up. It'd be good.
Do that. I'll pass them on to my agent and say, cool room. I want to be down there. I've got to play. Christ, I'll get on a plane with 2 musicians and 1 roadie, and I'll pick up the rest of the band can be picked up in Australia. We'll rehearse for 2 days, and I'll have a hybrid band.
Yeah, well, a lot of people do that.
Do they?
Oh, yeah, that gets done.
No kidding. I thought that was such an original idea. I'm so out of touch. I really am.
Good on you, Steve. It's been a lot of fun speaking to you. I hope we do see you down here soon.
John on.
All the best.
Yeah, and to you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.